At just 19 years of age, I got my very first camera and started to create videos. 14 years later and millions of dollars in turnover, I'm now going to take all that experience and condense it into one singular video. These are just lessons and advice that I personally wish I knew when I started out, and it would have saved me a hell of a lot of time and even more money. There's a lot to get through, and if you can take away one singular point in this video, then it will be worth it. So let's get started. So we are starting off with a confusing one, obviously. What I mean by this is, as a beginner, you're going to have equipment on the lower end of the budget, and you will have everybody tell you that equipment does not matter, and they are correct. Equipment does not matter, just get out there, start filming, getting better, etc. But I feel too many people take this too far into their career. I know people who have been at this over a decade, and they also say equipment does not matter. And anybody who's in the industry knows that equipment does actually matter. Netflix are not going to book you for their next documentary using an iPhone 15 Pro Max. This one sounds really obvious, but we tend to put it off for way too long. But this is get hard drives, archives, a server. I personally have a Synology server, but whatever you can afford or do, just make multiple copies of the footage you are getting paid to capture and do it as early as possible. Building off of the last point, and this one is something that personally cost me thousands and thousands. Do not keep footage for too long. You can get attached to it and start to think that you're never going to delete it and back it up forever and store it online under this thing or that thing. But the truth of the matter is, just delete it. Once you've edited your project, let your client know, let the producer know, whoever it is, let them know, do you want this footage? Because I'm about to delete it, because storage is expensive. Now this one may be the hardest of all the points I make in this video, because lenses are expensive, and once you buy a camera, you buy lenses that fit that lens mount, and this is going to be difficult not to do. But as you grow in equipment and you start picking up multiple cameras and multiple lenses, try your hardest to have different manufacturers, different lens mounts, and don't get stuck into one ecosystem. This one kind of explains itself. Audio is more than 50% of the video. You can always watch a bad video with good audio, but you can never watch a good video with bad audio. This is a mistake that has risen over the last 5 or 10 years massively, and this is people shooting all of their content, videos, creations on gimbals. This, for me, makes you appear as kind of like a low-budget filmmaker. You're not going to attract any big-budget projects by doing it. Think about your shots. Use tripods, use handheld, use every single creative method you can, but never shoot everything on a gimbal. Now this one translates across multiple industries and not just filmmaking, but it's kind of like the person who's steering the ship. Never go above or below them on effort. If you go too much, you can be seen as a bit of a job's worth, and I put that in quotation marks as it's a bit of a stupid saying. But if you go too less, you can be seen as you do not care. Your best bet is to match the effort of whoever is in charge of the project, the director, the producer, whoever that may be. Just give the same energy. This is something I've said in my videos before, but I'll drive it home once again. Have a second camera even if you do not shoot two angles. This would be the example of having one camera that is on sticks and is handheld, having a second camera set up on a gimbal, so when that gimbal shot comes down on the shot list, it is as easy as picking it up and pressing record. This is another extremely difficult one, as we have all been there, and if you have not been there, you're going to be there, because you're going to break equipment. You'll crack a lens, you'll break a camera, water damage, drop, fall, accidental, whatever it may be, do not stress it. This is one of my absolute favourites on the entire list, and what I mean by this is I see so many filmmakers who are just out there alone, and then when you speak to them, they kind of feel like they're not doing enough or they're not good enough. And sometimes all it takes is just speaking to other creators and filmmakers. And not only that, that when you finally do get those bigger projects, you're going to need help, and it's way better to already know the person that's going to produce or pull focus or whatever it is you need help with. It's always better to know them before you go on a shoot. This is one that I think has a very lot of excuses. There is no excuses. I hear a lot of people say it, but I've only just started, or I do it this way, or I have pots in this bank, or I separate my money like this. You're wrong. You need a business account. You need to separate personal income and business income, and creating videos is definitely a business. This one is like 2 in 1. Firstly, I want to speak to the people who are not doing outreach. If you are not, start doing it. It's a game changer. There is nothing wrong with approaching companies that you can do a good job for and telling them how much you charge. And the second part of this is not doing outreach when you are fully booked. We are all guilty of this. We all get into a busy period in our calendar and then stop kind of looking for new work, and really this is the most important time to do it, because then we end up with an empty calendar wondering why we are there. Simple. Find an accountant, hire them. They will save you more money than they cost you. It's a no-brainer. Do it right now. This is one of the most recent lessons for me, and to keep a long story short, I guess an aim for me was always to get cinema lenses as they are better quality, and you see all the big productions having cinema lenses, and a mistake that comes along with cinema glass is manual focus. Manual focus does not make you a better filmmaker than AF. Everybody chases cinema lenses, and cinema lenses are the best lenses out there, but if you are in a small crew or a solo filmmaker, a shot that is in focus off a G Master or L mount lens is better than a shot that is out of focus on the best Arri Signature Prime out there. This is for all the people out there who skimped when buying a tripod, and I was personally one of those people. If you do not have a good tripod, then your next purchase should definitely be one. Another one of my favourites on this list, and a good example of one of these, is colour grading. If you spend loads of time improving how to colour correct footage, colour grade footage, and just get the best image out of cameras and lenses, then it will affect every single video. Versus something like a probe lens where you would purchase it, maybe use it on a shot here or there, and it would affect the odd video. So always focus your time on stuff that improves every video. This is another one that I was personally super guilty of. Don't go buying big cameras if you can't afford an easy rig. Keep your camera package nice and light and try and keep good form. And if you do end up affording or hiring that big camera, make sure that you demand an easy rig on that higher kit list. This can be a super bad one in today's world. We're all super guilty of going on Instagram and looking at all those amazing BTS videos and BTS images, even finished projects, and thinking that everyone is getting better projects than we are. But the truth of the matter is they're dealing with the same BS that you are when on set. They don't like that colour grade or the way that was edited. They don't like the camera movement or wanted to do things a little bit different. The fact of the matter is, work extremely hard, stay consistent, and appreciate what you are doing in the moment, and you will get to wherever you need to be. A really common piece of advice that a lot of people give out is niche down your portfolio, so stick to just doing cars or fashion videos or whatever that may be. And this is really great advice. I would add onto that though that only niche down your portfolio, have that Instagram or website showing that you specialise in this certain type of video. But in the background, take on all the work you're offered, test the waters, find out. You never know that random next project that you're going to be great at and you absolutely love to shoot. Now, the fact that you're watching this video means that you are doing pretty good at this one anyways, but I'm just going to run it home. YouTube is free. It's like the modern day library. Come on here, learn, take everyone's advice in. Make sure to watch the guy whose opinion you don't like, who likes that camera manufacturer you don't like. Make sure to watch the guy who uses the camera you love. Mix it up, get everyone's opinions, take everyone's advice, and it will make you a better filmmaker. And while you are there, you might as well help me out and hit the subscribe button, as I'm a small channel, so every single sub makes the biggest difference. Now this counts for any camera you own or operate, whether it's your GoPro all the way up to your biggest main A cam. Always have enough memory cards and batteries to get for like a 12-hour day, because anything less than this just seems unprofessional. This one basically means know your gear inside out, shoot personal or fun projects, or just take your camera to the park and practice with it. Try and make that mistake that is inevitably going to happen with that new camera, but just make it on your terms and you will say, I'm so happy I did not make that on a paying project. This one relates to editing and sending off different drafts and versions of edits to get amends and feedback. Sometimes it can be overwhelming when you send off a version you think is finished and then they send it back. So you send it back and then you end up in this tennis match of like it is 6 versions old and it's still not finished. It's totally okay to just let the person know that you're going to take a step back and come back to it in a day or two. You'll be fresh-minded and you'll be so much better in taking on board their feedback. This is what someone taught me, and it's from an old Monty Python sketch that you can Google and find out. And it basically means that even though sometimes you don't need to set up all your equipment, that director's monitor or that handheld wireless feed, do it anyway because it is cool to impress people and that will get you more work. Now this one relates to when being on set. If you are someone who turns up to do audio, camera, lighting, editing, drone work, you have all these things and you are like the videographer for the day, you are normally going to get paid the lowest rate. Where if you turn up just to be the drone pilot on set, you're going to get a lot more. Just to be the camera operator, you're just the editor, just the colour grader, just the Steadicam up. You'll see exactly where I'm going here. The more niche your job is on set, the more you will get paid, so aim for it. As you get further on into your career as a cinematographer, videographer, DP, whatever you want to call it, you will find that you get hired for jobs where you are not the editor. My advice would be to edit that footage anyways, just because people are too polite. If you made a mistake or something that does not look quite good, and the editor spots it, he's more likely just not going to use it and never tell you. So if you edit your own footage for free and have a mess around with it, you will be able to spot your own mistakes and improve. I absolutely love this one because it has a psychological aspect to it. If you have ever made an edit or done homework or done anything that you show to friends and loved ones and just people who are close to you, at the part of the edit that you are not fully happy with, you might speak up and say, I'm not happy with that bit, or I'm going to change that bit. Ignore this section. And it's at that moment you know exactly where to improve your edit. But it's weird because when you're editing alone, you kind of don't have these thoughts. But as soon as you show it to an external person, they don't even have to tell you, you know exactly where your changes need to be. There is no real way to put this nicely, but people don't care about you. They care about what you can do for them. And the quicker you realize this, the further you will go in filmmaking. Just like an athlete or a bodybuilder, to get better at something, you need to train it over and over and over again. So the same applies to filmmaking. There'll be times where you don't have bookings or projects on. Take your camera, go and try something new, do something different, re-edit that footage, re-color grade that footage. Either way, just always be training it and you will get better. Now this one was from a book I read that I will link in the description below, and it absolutely changed the game in business terms to me. It is a way of working out your income where you work out the profit first. So as soon as that $1,000 hits your account, you work out how much of that $1,000 is actual profit. You don't go spending it on whatever you like. You have a set amount for equipment, a set amount for rent, a set amount for this and that. And it is basically budgeting, but you just calculate your profit first. It is game changing. I don't really want to sit here and tell you to drink water, but on the same hand, if you've ever been on one of those 12-hour shoots where it feels like you've not drunk any water, you need to be told to drink water. And it goes the same for planning to eat. We all plan a lunch break in and then work through it. But the truth of the matter is, what I find is I make better videos when I am not hungry. These come in all different shapes and sizes, and you can get these from like camera manufacturers like Small Rig, or you can go to your local hardware store and just pick one up. There's the little keyring ones, but I like to use the ones that kind of fold away. They're like the screwdriver and Allen wrench sets that kind of have all the different attachments. Buy one, take it on every shoot, and thank me later. This one is a little bit cryptic, I know, but I find if you expect maybe that shoot that you thought was not going to be that good, that always ends up being the biggest and best shoot you've done. Vice versa, if you expect a shoot to be amazing and you've got loads of expectations placed on it, if it goes wrong, don't sweat it. Just always expect the unexpected. The one you thought will not do well will always turn out to be the best. You should have a checklist, but I know that sometimes it gets so crazy with all the equipment we have nowadays. It's easy to forget something. So one thing I always say to myself is camera, lens, battery, cards. As long as you have those 4 things, everything else will just work out. Let me start this one by saying take your camera out of auto white balance. It gives you such a headache when it comes to editing, and it's moving around in every single shot. And number 2, white balance is important. The more you shoot throughout the day, it's easier to not white balance your camera, but get yourself a little grey card or a piece of white paper, whatever it takes, and keep white balancing your camera every single setup. This is a positive one to finish on, and it is basically just be kind. People are going to be not very kind to you, but just kill them with kindness. Your next job is going to come from where you least expect it, and sometimes something really bad will happen in someone's day and they may take that out on you, but don't sweat it. Be kind to everyone. I know I said there was only 34 points, but there's actually 3 more lessons that are super important that I like to tell people. They just take a little more time to break down. You can find out what those lessons are in this video here.